Past presidents, distinguished guests, it's a pleasure to be at the Municipal League annual gathering. It is a special time for me because I think fondly of my history with cities. I think fondly of the leadership of Don Zimmerman. I think fondly of my father, who was a mayor. And I thought about the best title he had. Well, I'm sure it was Dad, but the second best title was Mayor Hutchinson. And so small town Arkansas, but that's what we are. We're a state comprised of growing cities, but we're also comprised of those small communities in which are so critical to our state, to our way of life, and to our sense of community. And you are key to that success and that future for our state. Thank you for what you do. And you know, and sometimes you think as governor, you don't want to get too big for your britches. You want to stay humble and everything. Well, I assure you that it's easy to do when I'm married to a wonderful wife, Susan, the First Lady. She helps keep me humble, but also the people of Arkansas do that. I was in a reception the other day, and of course I was the guest there, and I looked back and I said, man, look at that line of people ready to receive me and to greet me. And so your head swells a little bit. The first person comes up and says, this is not the food line, is it? So I was the head of the wrong line then. Very humbling experience. Mayor Brown mentioned the amendment that gave the cities greater flexibility in terms of economic development. And I recognize that as a need early on. I was honored to put my name behind that and to encourage its passage, but it would not have happened without your leadership, but also the confidence of the people of Arkansas in our municipal officials that they can properly use that authority and that you are an effective partner in economic development in this state. So congratulations for that passage. And in related to that, I just want to emphasize how important it is. You look about at our state and the economic success that we have is generally because it's not just the state of Arkansas participating in the recruitment or the incentive package or the final package or the infrastructure. It is that partnership with local communities, whether it's a county or a city. And I understand in Arkansas we have 32 communities that have additional revenue source locally that you can use to help encourage economic development. And that economic development package and the annual revenue stream for those cities or communities can range from $40,000 up to $3 million annually. And so there's a wide variety, but it shows a commitment. And whenever I went to recruit Sun Paper and try to encourage them to come and build a $1 billion investment in South Arkansas, it helped when I was able to tell them of the local commitment of Arkadelphia. And so it is that partnership. This amendment allows us to increase that partnership and make it more successful. I don't know if some of you realize it, but we have a session of the legislature coming up. And so we've been working hard on that, and I was delighted this week to give my State of the State address. And people, you know, they might have rolled their eyes and said, you know, wondered whenever the governor proclaimed that the state of Arkansas is exceptional. And I say that with all genuineness, because whenever you look at what we are doing in Arkansas, that we're this year going to reach most likely the 3 million mark in population. While some states are suffering from out-migration, people are wanting to come to Arkansas. And I understand that we have some communities that are struggling, some that are growing. It's a mobile society, but as a state, people want to come here. We have the strength of a diverse economy in this state, from medicine to technology to agriculture to tourism to energy. And when one sector falls down a little bit, the strength of the other sectors help us to maintain strength. Tourism has been such a vital part of Arkansas, and and the people that come and visit this state and the economic boom that we have experienced. And so this last year, actually the last 2 years since I've been governor, we have created 55,000 jobs in Arkansas. We take a little credit for it because it happens on our watch. But at the same time, we recognize as entrepreneurs, it's the private sector that create those jobs, that we want to create that atmosphere of growth, that confidence in what we're doing, the marketing of Arkansas, in a sense that we are on the right track, and people have that sense today. And so we're working hard, and you look at the statistics just this last year, we have a lower unemployment rate than the national average. We actually got down to 3.8% unemployment rate, which is the lowest in the recorded history of Arkansas. That's not bad. Wage rates are going up in this state. Our pace of economic growth is faster than the average nationally as well. And so we have a lot to take pride in. We have a lot to rejoice in, and we want to build on that for the coming year. And I expect that to continue to improve in this legislative session, where my priorities are economic development initiatives, creating jobs. It is about improving education and the delivery and the efficient delivery of education in this state, particularly focusing on higher education and how we can have a new funding formula that emphasizes student progression and not just the number of students in an institution of higher education. We want to continue to look at highways. And I know as cities that highway and street money is important to you. And so this last year, whenever we had the new highway improvement plan, and we enhanced some of the revenue stream going back to our state, to the highway department, we did not forget the cities and counties, and we maintained the split so that that 15-15 split would continue to strengthen the development of our cities and our counties. Speaking of highways, I did want to take advantage of introducing a friend and a new appointment, our latest appointment to the Arkansas Highway Commission, Philip Taldo. Philip, would you stand? Philip knows growth. He knows industry, he knows development, he understands the importance of infrastructure. And while he and I went to high school, graduated about 10 years ago, despite that long-term connection we have, he understands Arkansas, and he wants to make sure that he can value and support everything that you want to do across this state. This session, we've got some tough decisions to make. Many of them are budget decisions. And while we have enjoyed a balanced budget, and actually last year we created a $177 million surplus. And you think, thank you. And we do that because we manage a tight budget for our state, but also our economy grows and our revenues exceeded projections. And by the way, you know, I watch that every month when those numbers come in. You watch those sales tax collections, don't you? You watch them real closely every month. It's like, you know, the stock market is going to go up or down based upon that. Your election results are going to go up and down based upon that. But you watch the sales tax collection. I watch both of them for the state. Sales tax collection, but also the income tax collections. And while we had a $100 million individual income tax cut 2 years ago, our year-to-year comparison shows that our net individual income tax collections went up. How did that happen? They went up because we put money in people's pocket and they spent that money. And they spent it in your local community, buying a set of tires, buying more clothes for their students going to school, enjoying a night out for dinner because money is in their pocket. That helps your economy, and that's what we want to do. And so it's all a balance. And so when it came to the tax cuts this year, I recognized we wanted to be cautious. We wanted to be careful. And there were some people talking about we need to do $200 million in tax cuts. They talked about $100 million in tax cuts. And I said, no, the most we should do right now is $50 million that we can absorb in a growing economy on the careful side of it, and that will be in the second year of the biennium, which means it's really a $25 million hit over the course of 2 years. And so it's a modest tax cut, but will allow us to continue reducing our high income tax rates in this state. And this time, we're doing it for the lower income, which is $21,000 and below. That's net income, and so actually their gross income will be a little bit higher. But will that income tax cut for $21,000 net income and below help the people of your community? Yes, it will. But I also want to address, when I talked about balancing, I understand general improvement funds. I understand what we call the GIF funds, and many of you have come up and said, that has been so helpful to our small community and we might not have got it otherwise. And you thanked your local legislator. And it might be your local fire department that did not have any other source of revenue, and that boon to them was helpful, and it has flowed in recent years through the GIF money that our legislators have been able to influence. And I'm a former congressman, and I was back in the day when we had earmarks, and I enjoyed passing those out. And we did it honestly and truthfully because we understood the needs of our community. But today, our state revenues needs to be utilized for state purposes, first of all. And secondly, we understand that GIF money has been abused. And it's undeniable because we just had an indictment, actually a guilty plea, that indicated a legislature, to our great chagrin, and to all the legislators who deal honestly with it, to their chagrin, passed out that GIF money with great corruption, and it was a federal offense. And most likely there's going to be more charges coming in that area. And so I'm setting the stage that I do not support legislative GIF money in the budget this year. Now, I want to say that because I see some legislators out there and they have done it the right way, they've done it honestly, and I respect them for it. But part of it is the climate of the time, and secondly, we have to utilize our state resources for statewide needs. But let me address the right way to do it, because I believe in your local community, I believe in your fire departments, and so we have a Rural Services Department in Arkansas that focuses on small communities. And it's a great vehicle to utilize for grant money across Arkansas. And so if we have additional money, right now it's a tough budget, but if we have additional growth, there's nothing wrong with giving rural services funds that you can apply for and that can be allocated to our communities across this state, whether it is in a community development or whether it is in a fire department. And so there's proper ways to get those resources to communities that need it. And so as we have additional funds, even though we have a tight budget now, if there's additional surpluses, I am open to that discussion, but it has to be done in the right way. We also, when it comes to the budget, I wanted to mention a couple items. First of all, we're doing some necessary things, and I talk about statewide needs. We're putting $24 million in improving our care of foster children across this state. It is a state responsibility. And it impacts your community. We not only want to give the best chance for kids through education and opportunity, but we also want to remember the disadvantaged and those that have that hurdle to get over that they're having to be assigned to foster care. We want to make sure they have the care, the best opportunity to get out of that circumstance, to be reunited with the family, to have the support that's needed, to have the DHS workers that's needed. So we're having to fund the increased number of foster children, and we're putting that money in the budget. Many of you said that pre-K education is important. And so we're putting $3 million more in pre-K education to enhance the quality of instruction, which is improving teacher quality. And that is important. We're having to put money in Medicaid. While we're saving money in certain areas, we're reforming Medicaid, we're also having to keep up with the natural growth of healthcare costs in the country that impacts the Medicaid expenditures. We're putting $100 million of new general revenue money into facilities that impact your community in the construction of schools to make sure you have a safe and dry school environment for your children. That's a state investment. And so while we had a $177 million surplus, there are great statewide needs out there that we're having to apply that money toward to make sure we can meet those objectives. But we're also trying to wisely use existing resources. And so I've made mention, I want to make sure you're aware of this, and that is giving our high school graduate a commitment that if you go into a high-need, high-skill area that's needed in your region of the state, then the state of Arkansas is going to make sure you have the funds to go free of charge to a two-year institution to get a degree or a technical certificate. And the way we can do that is that we take some existing grant money that can be better utilized and made more successful by putting it into our grant program, which says there needs to be a mentoring program for that student to make sure somebody comes alongside, that they get the courses they need, that they can graduate on time. And so we want to have that mentoring program. It needs to be in a high-need area. And then whenever they finish, they have to be committed to work in Arkansas for 3 years. And so that's a very successful promise and commitment we can make to our young people, that they can actually go to a two-year college or to a technical school, get a degree or certificate, and not have any student debt. That's a promise that's important for our young people. I want to also mention something that I understand is important. And while we all have to have good statewide policy, I want to continue to push against unfunded mandates on our cities that have to bear the burden of it. And so when a bill comes to my desk, I'm going to look at it under that prism. What does this do in terms of local control? Is there a necessity for a statewide policy? Is it a mandate that's going to cost you more money that we're not helping you with? And so I assure you that I will listen to you. I want to hear your voice in terms of the legislation as it is developed during this session of the legislature. I need your support on the initiatives that I've outlined. They're right for moving our economy forward, to continuing the partnership that we have, to make sure that we continue in 2017 with the job creation, the economic growth that is so critical to our state. I'm going to continue to market Arkansas. I can't do everything as governor, but one thing I can do is to travel and to say Arkansas is the place that you need to do business. I'm going to be leaving next week, and I'm going for my second trip to the SHOT Show, which is the largest firearms industry show in America. And guess what? Last year I went there and I talked to Sig Sauer Arms, and they announced that they're creating jobs in Jacksonville with the first premium ammunition plant in this state. I will continue to go back to make sure they know Arkansas is a good place for the firearms industry. Yes, we're a Second Amendment friendly state. It's a good place to do business. Forget the Northeast, relocate down here. I'll continue to market our agriculture, whether it's Cuba or China. I'll continue to build our aero defense industry as I go to Europe. I'll continue to build that relationship with China so we can bring more garment companies back here and reshore them back to the United States and let Arkansas be number one in bringing those industries back to our country. That's what I can do. I have experienced and lived what I call is the Arkansas dream. And that is, my mom and dad raised me on a farm in which we did not have very much, but we believed we had everything because we had family, we had neighbors, we had community, we had our faith, and we had opportunity that we believed was unboundless. And I have lived that opportunity in my life, the Arkansas dream. And I want to make sure that Arkansas dream is available for the young people in each community that you represent. We'll put our energies together to accomplish that. Thank you, and God bless you.